My hands shook as I observed the turmoil surrounding my beautifully set dining table. The Christmas lights I had meticulously hung were now casting judgmental shadows on the faces I thought I understood, faces that had deceived me, let me down, and shattered my world. "You knew," my husband's voice faltered. All color faded from his complexion as he gazed at the man in our doorway. The man I welcomed, whose mere presence was on the verge of unleashing a force that would ruin everything. I grinned. It wasn't a friendly grin. It was the grin of someone who had dedicated 6 weeks to orchestrating this very scene, 6 weeks of enduring anguish, 6 weeks pretending I was unaware of the truth that had been gnawing at me from within. "Oh, darling," I said. My tone was as sweet as poison. "You asked me to handle this maturely, and I am." The woman next to him, his treasured ex, the one he insisted needed to be part of our family gathering on Christmas Eve, became as pale as the snow descending outside. Her perfectly groomed hand flew to her mouth. She was aware of what was about to happen. She recognized who was at the door. And that was when the real chaos began. But I'm jumping ahead of myself. Allow me to rewind to where this nightmare truly began, to the instant my seemingly perfect life turned out to be a beautiful deception, to 3 months ago, when I still had faith in fairy tales, to the day I discovered the message. It was October 13th. I recall the date because it marked our 7th wedding anniversary. 7 years married to Marcus Whitfield, the man I adored since college, the one who vowed to love me forever beneath a starry sky at a lake house in the Adirondacks. The man who had supported me through 2 heartbreaking miscarriages and had sworn we would eventually start our family. 7 years had passed, and I still felt butterflies in my stomach whenever he entered the room. I had spent the entire day preparing our anniversary meal. His favorite was herb-crusted rack of lamb with roasted potatoes and asparagus. I had bought a new dress. A rich emerald green, the shade he always claimed made my brown eyes shimmer like jade. I had lit candles throughout our home in the suburbs of Atlanta, Georgia. Everything was flawless. Everything was a deception. Marcus's phone vibrated on the kitchen counter while he was showering. I wasn't one to snoop. I had never been that way. But the persistent buzzing, urgent and restless, unsettled my stomach. The display brightened with notifications from a contact labeled VH. I can't shake off thoughts about the past weekend. When will our next meeting be? Have you shared this with her yet? My hands felt lifeless. The bottle of Cabernet Sauvignon I held nearly fell, but I managed to grab it before it touched the ground. My heart raced, pounding against my chest as if it wanted to break free. This couldn't be what it appeared to be. There must be a reason behind it. I accessed his phone. I already knew his passcode. It was the date of our anniversary. The irony would have been amusing if I hadn't felt nauseous. The message appeared. I scrolled upwards, my gaze absorbing phrases that stung like acid on my skin. "I long for your touch. She doesn't grasp you like I do. Our destiny is to be together. It always has been." And Marcus's responses, "I understand, I'm addressing this. She's been quite sensitive since her 2nd miscarriage. I need to choose the perfect moment. Just be patient. You're the person I desire. It has always been you." The phone slipped from my fingers, clanging against the granite counter. I clutched the edge of the counter to prevent myself from collapsing. The room began to swirl. The candles I lit appeared to mock me, their flickering flames a harsh joke. I returned to the contact list. Victoria Hawthorne. Victoria, his former girlfriend from college, the one he dated for 3 years before we got together. He claimed they remained friends without any romantic involvement. The girl who occasionally liked his posts on Facebook, something I had always thought was innocent. I scrutinized the messages. The chat went back 6 months, 6 months filled with late-night messages, 6 months of declarations of love, 6 months of discussing a future together while I was home mourning the children I couldn't have, trusting my husband was at work late. There were photos. I shouldn't have looked, but I couldn't resist. Victoria posed in lingerie. Victoria appeared to be in a hotel room. Victoria had nothing on. Her message read, "Waiting for you." Then I saw it. A picture of both of them together. Marcus had his arm around her. They were dining at a restaurant. I recognized the Beltline Bistro downtown. I had proposed visiting that place for our anniversary, but Marcus told me he was fed up with it. The date on the picture is October the th, a week ago. The shower ceased. I caught Marcus humming. He hummed as if nothing troubled him, as if he wasn't currently breaking my heart. I put his phone back in its original spot. My hands were calm at that moment. A chill had settled inside me, numbing the fear, pain, and anger, not eliminating them but encasing them in ice. Storing them for later. When Marcus walked into the kitchen with a towel around his waist and water beads on his shoulders, he flashed me a smile. That same smile that had captured my heart was now like a weapon. "Something smells amazing," he remarked, giving me a peck on the cheek. His lips were icy against my skin. "Happy anniversary, darling." I managed to smile back. I'm not sure how I pulled it off. But I smiled. Happy anniversary. We enjoyed some wine. He gifted me a necklace, a simple gold chain with a charm. I thought about whether he had gotten Victoria something more luxurious. Later that night we made love, and I loathed every moment of it. I despised the feeling of his hands on me, hands that had been on her. I resented the sweet nothings he murmured, words that carried no true meaning. But I hid my feelings. I portrayed the role of the loyal wife flawlessly because I needed time to process. Time to strategize, time to determine what to do with the knowledge weighing heavily on my heart. I didn't confront him yet. No. Instead, I morphed into someone I barely recognized. I became a detective in my own marriage. For the following 2 weeks, I logged every detail. I created a temporary email account and sent myself screenshots of their exchanges. I examined our credit card statements and discovered expenses at hotels, restaurants, and a jewelry store where he purchased her a bracelet that cost double what he had spent on my anniversary gift. I engaged a private investigator. His name was Sam, an ex-cop with compassionate eyes and a gentle voice that couldn't fully hide his sympathy when I shared my situation. He was pricey, but I had my own funds. I worked from home as a graphic designer and had been saving for some time. Sam tracked Marcus for a week. The information he gathered was thorough and heartbreaking. Photos of Marcus and Victoria meeting at hotels, recordings of them kissing in parking garages, call records that lasted for hours, always while Marcus claimed to be in meetings. Yet, Sam uncovered something even more significant, something that altered everything. He slid a folder across the table at the cafe where we met. His demeanor serious, Mrs. Whitfield. You need to see this. Inside the folder was a printed Facebook post. Victoria's post 2 days earlier had its privacy set to friends only, which explained why it hadn't appeared in my feed. Sam had his ways. The post included a picture of a ring, a diamond engagement ring on Victoria's hand. The caption stated, "He finally proposed. I can't believe I get to marry my best friend. Here's to new starts, engaged." The comments overflowed with well wishes, but one comment in particular sent a chill down my spine. "I can't wait to meet him. Bring him to our Sunday dinner." Naomi Hawthorne, Victoria's mother. She seemed unaware of who the fiancé was, which indicated that Victoria had not informed her family about being engaged to a married man. "There's more," Sam whispered. He pushed another paper across the table. "I did a background check on Victoria Hawthorne. She isn't merely your husband's ex-girlfriend." I watched him, my throat feeling constricted. "What do you mean?" "She works as a family therapist and focuses on marriage counseling." He paused, allowing the news to settle in. "Additionally, she has written numerous articles regarding ethics in professional relationships. She has dedicated her career to being knowledgeable about healthy relationships." The irony was so harsh it nearly made me laugh. "Almost. And the man she claims to be engaged to," I stated slowly. "She can't tell his family his name is Marcus because he is still married to you." Sam concluded. "So either she's lying about the engagement, or he hesitated, or he's intending to leave me," I murmured. The lamb I had eaten threatened to come back up. Sam's demeanor softened. "I'm sorry, Mrs. Whitfield, but yes, that's what the evidence implies." I gazed at the image of the ring. It was stunning. Platinum band, emerald-cut diamond. Most likely around 3 carats. Marcus and I had been saving for a down payment on a larger house, one with enough rooms for the children we hoped to have. I had been setting aside money from every paycheck, sacrificing my desires because our future mattered more. Clearly, he had been saving as well, but not for our future, rather for hers. "There's one more thing," Sam said. He appeared uneasy now, as if preparing to share the devastating news he knew would break me. "I observed his activities for the past 6 months and matched them with the calendar you shared." He produced a timeline. My gaze moved across the dates, and then it hit me. June the day of my second miscarriage, the hospital visit, experiencing fear and loss, feeling like I was dying. That was when Marcus mentioned he had to be gone for a few hours due to a work issue. Sam marked the date. Alongside it was a photo with a timestamp, PM. Marcus and Victoria were registering at a Marriott hotel. While I was dealing with the loss of our child, he was with her. The coffee shop faded away. I struggled to breathe. Sam was speaking. His voice was faint, checking if I was all right, asking if I needed something to drink. But all I could focus on was that date, June the darkest day for me, and he had decided to share it with her. Mrs. Whitfield. Sam placed his hand on my arm. It was gentle yet assertive. Breathe, just breathe. I inhaled once, then again. Gradually, my surroundings cleared. I'm okay, I falsely claimed. I was okay. I could never be okay again. But I had finished crying, finished falling apart. Something tough and sharp was forming in my chest, filling the void left by my broken heart. Thank you, Sam, I expressed, my voice calm. This is precisely what I needed. He looked at me silently for a while. What are your plans? I started to put the papers back into the folder. I will find a lawyer. Then I hesitated. An idea was taking shape. A dreadful, perfect plan. And then I will wait. Wait for what? I smiled, and it felt unnatural, as if I were in someone else's skin, for the right opportunity. November 1st. Marcus arrived home from work with Chinese food and an unusual vibe. He seemed anxious. I noticed it in how he played with the containers, in his hesitance to meet my eyes. We sat at the dining room table. He cleared his throat multiple times before he began to talk. I want to discuss something with you, he started, mixing his hair with a fork, about Christmas. I sipped my water, watching him over my glass. What's on your mind about Christmas? Well, we usually have a quiet Christmas. Just the two of us, maybe your sister. My sister Lauren, who intended to visit this year with her husband James and their 2 kids. My beloved niece and nephews, who eased the pain of my own inability to have children. Yes, I replied cautiously. Marcus inhaled deeply. I was considering that we could change things up this year. Open our home to more guests. Make it more inclusive. Inclusive. I repeated the term. It felt like soot. Not long ago, I bumped into a former college buddy. He went on, and the falsehood was so slick, so rehearsed. Victoria Hawthorne, do you recall her? I have mentioned her to you before. Oh, she came to mind. I had a whole folder set up to remember her. I said, somewhat vaguely. Well, she's facing some difficulties. Her entire family is in Tampa. This year she can't travel due to her job. She will be on her own for Christmas. He finally looked at me, his gaze imploring. I thought it might be nice to invite her to be with us. To spread some festive spirit. The nerve, the incredible nerve. He gazed at me as if I were a puzzle to fix, as if my response stood between him and his desire. What he wanted was to have us both share a meal together. His wife and his lover enjoying a meal, celebrating Christ's birth. I could have yelled. I could have hurled the Chinese takeout at him. I could have taken out the folder of proof and watched him fidget. But I refrained, as I had a more clever plan. A plan that started forming since I talked with Sam. A plan that needed Marcus to think he was getting precisely what he wished for. I placed my glass down and clasped my hands on the table. Naturally, Marcus, he blinked. Certainly, yes. If she's going to be by herself during the holidays, she truly should come with us. That embodies the essence of Christmas, right? Kindness, generosity. I grinned. I'll even prepare something unique. The joy in his expression was clear. He reached across the table and held my hand. Thank you, babe. I appreciate your understanding. This is why I love you. You truly have the biggest heart. I squeezed his hand in return. My grin did not falter. Of course, darling, I want you to feel joy. And I meant every word. I wanted him to be cheerful until the moment I brought him down. After our meal, while Marcus was engrossed in a show, I headed to our home office and turned on my laptop. I had been gathering information for the last few weeks, exploring Victoria's life just like she had been investigating my marriage. I found out where she worked. The Family Wellness Center is a respected therapy clinic in the city center. I discovered where she resided, a sleek apartment in Inman Park. I learned about her daily habits, her favorite cafe, and her gym. And I uncovered one more detail, something I found out through a little creative social media snooping and a fake account. Victoria was, in fact, engaged, but she had been very secretive about her fiancé. No pictures of him on her social media, no mention of his name. Just that ring and some vague hints about my affection and my future. The reactions from her friends on the engagement announcement were revealing. When will we get to meet this secret guy? Girl, you're definitely keeping him hidden. He must be significant. I'm eager for the wedding. It'll be back in Tampa, right? Just as you always intended. She was concealing him because he belonged to me. However, Marcus and Victoria were unaware, and there was no way they could know that I had gone much deeper than they realized. I located Victoria's calendar, not in a physical sense but her online one. I had connected it with her professional site's scheduling feature, which had laughable protection. A few educated guesses at the security questions helped. Her mother's maiden name was readily available, and her first pet's name popped up in an old college blog. Just like that, I was in. And there, marked for November 30th, was family dinner, not with Marcus. I compared the date with her emails. Yes, I had accessed those as well. It turns out that individuals who talk about ethics often struggle with cybersecurity. The email was from someone named Alex Ramos. The subject line read, "Can't wait to finally meet your family." I opened it, read it, and reread it. Then I burst out laughing. Alex Ramos thought he was engaged to Victoria. His messages overflowed with love and enthusiasm for their shared future. He had proposed to her in August by the Great Lakes. He was a pediatric surgeon. He had relocated to Atlanta from Chicago 6 months prior. He had no clue that the woman he cherished was involved with another man. Victoria was managing 2 relationships. She had accepted Alex's proposal and proudly wore his ring. She had made arrangements to introduce him to her family, all while being intimate with Marcus and promising him a future as if he was the only one. At first, I couldn't grasp it, but then I examined the financial details that Sam had given me. Marcus had a decent income as a senior software engineer, but it was no match for a surgeon's salary. Alex was likely earning 4 to 5 times what Marcus made. Victoria was keeping her options open, or perhaps she was just a sociopath who relished the thrill of manipulation. Regardless, she had made a significant error, a serious one. She had misjudged me. I glanced at the calendar. November 30th was only 2 weeks away, and Christmas was 6 weeks after that. I opened a new email in my anonymous account, which I established for this exact reason, and composed. "Dear Dr. Ramos, you don't know me, but I'm familiar with you. More importantly, I know Victoria Hawthorne, your fiancée. I am reaching out because I feel you need to hear the truth about the woman you're about to marry. I understand this email may seem crazy. You may be tempted to delete it right away, but before you do, you should ask Victoria about Marcus Whitfield. Inquire who he is and find out her whereabouts on October the 3rd, October the 12th, and October the 22nd. Also, question why there are 2 dinner reservations for Christmas Eve. You strike me as a decent person, Dr. Ramos, and you deserve honesty. If you want evidence of what I'm saying, please respond to this email. If not, I wish you good luck. You will certainly need it. Best regards, a concerned friend." I hovered my cursor over the send button. This was the point of no return. Once I clicked send, everything would change. I pressed the button. The email disappeared into the online void. I leaned back in my chair, feeling my heart race. The first step was done. Now all I had to do was wait. Alex Ramos responded in under 3 hours. "Who are you? What is your relationship with Victoria? What evidence can you provide?" I was prepared for this moment. I had taken several days to get ready. I uploaded some chosen screenshots to a safe file-sharing site. Nothing too graphic, as I didn't want to shock him, but enough to reveal the truth. There were time-stamped messages between Marcus and Victoria, pictures of them together, and the hotel bills. I sent him the link along with a simple note. "I'm sorry, you deserve more than this." He didn't respond right away. I visualized him opening the files, his reality shattering just like mine had a few weeks before. A wave of guilt hit me. He was innocent in this situation, just collateral damage. However, he needed to find out. Moreover, it was crucial for him to know because Alex Ramos was the last part of my overall plan. 3 days later, I received another email. I confronted her. She denied everything. "She claimed you are a crazy ex trying to stir up trouble. But what about the photos? I'm not sure what to trust. Who are you? Why are you doing this?" I had braced myself for the denial. Victoria was skilled at manipulation. Of course, she would attempt to confuse him. I replied, "I am not his ex-girlfriend. I am the wife of Marcus Whitfield. If you doubt me, check the marriage certificate." Marcus Whitfield, and I got married 7 years ago in Atlanta. Still officially married, still cohabiting, still sharing a bed. Victoria is sleeping with my husband. She has been for half a year, and she intends to join us for Christmas Eve, with me, at my house, at my dining table, enjoying the meal I prepare. You and I are victims, Dr. Ramos. We are both being controlled by the same two individuals. However, unlike you, I won't just sit back and let this carry on. My husband extended an invitation to Victoria for our Christmas Eve dinner. He advised me to handle it maturely. He believes I'm unaware. He sees me as the unsuspecting wife who would happily serve coffee to his lover. Here's my proposal. We give them precisely what they desire. A delightful Christmas dinner, all together, one big happy family. They want everything without consequences. Let's offer them a memorable case of indigestion. If you're keen on making sure the truth comes out, respond to this email. If not, I understand. You can delete this message and try to continue with your life, but they will not come out on top. Not without facing repercussions. The decision is yours. I sent it and waited. This was a risk. Alex could approach Victoria, show her the emails, and alert her. He could completely disregard me. He might even contact the police, though I hadn't committed any crime, or he could do what I hoped for. 2 days turned into 3. I began to think I had misjudged and that Alex Ramos would take the easier route, cut his ties, end things with Victoria, and move forward. Then, on the 4th day, my phone vibrated with a new email alert. Count me in, Jimmy Kennedy's Skyaga. I grinned, not a pleasant grin, but the kind of smile from a woman who had found her partner in revenge. I responded with the specifics. The time, the location, and what to anticipate. I instructed him to pretend to be surprised, to show devastation, and to hold nothing back. His response was brief. Trust me, I won't have to pretend. The weeks leading to Christmas felt surreal. I moved through them like an actress in a performance, hitting my cues, delivering my lines, all while knowing the final scene would shake the entire theater. Marcus frequently brought up Victoria now that he thought I was okay with it. He would say things like, "Oh, Victoria suggested this wonderful restaurant," or "Victoria and I enjoyed this song in college." Each mention felt like a test. I realized he was measuring my reaction, checking how far he could push it. I passed every challenge with ease. That's lovely, dear. How great that you two have reconnected. I'm looking forward to meeting her. That last comment made him hesitate. We were in the kitchen, and he was chopping vegetables for a stir-fry. His knife halted on the cutting board. You've encountered her, he said cautiously. Do you recall at the alumni barbecue from a few years ago? Yes, I remember, I replied. Victoria had been there with a guy I hardly remembered and hardly spoke to me. She spent most of the time chatting with Marcus, laughing at his jokes and touching his arm. Back then, it hadn't bothered me. I thought I was confident enough not to feel envy towards an ex-girlfriend. How naive I had been. Oh, I see, I said while loading the dishwasher. My memory isn't very clear on that. There were a lot of people. Well, you'll get to know her better at Christmas, Marcus remarked. He sounded truly happy that his wife and his affair would bond over roast lamb. I'm planning a real feast, I said. Lamb, ham, all the sides. It's going to be a Christmas Eve to remember. You're fantastic, you know that, he said as he approached me. He wrapped his arms around my waist. I felt nothing, even less than nothing. His embrace felt like a stranger's hold. I don't deserve you, he murmured. You really don't, I responded quietly. He chuckled, thinking I was making a joke. He kissed my neck and returned to his vegetables. I let out a slight smile. On December 19th, Victoria messaged Marcus. I was aware because I had mirrored his phone. Yes, I figured out how to do that. There are guides for everything online if you search thoroughly. Victoria, counting down to Christmas Eve. What should I bring Marcus? Marcus replied, just be yourself. My wife is handling everything. Victoria asked, is she truly okay with this? Doesn't she find it strange? Marcus responded, Alara is incredible. She completely trusts me. She has no suspicions. Victoria said, you're the luckiest man alive. I'll be the ideal grateful guest. And you're still planning to come to my place after, right? I've got a special surprise for you, Marcus. Wouldn't miss it for anything, he replied. Love you, Victoria. Victoria replied, love you even more. I read the messages in the bathroom, perched on the tub's edge, my hands trembling with cold anger. He intended to leave our Christmas Eve dinner to spend the night with her, to exchange gifts with her while I washed the dishes and feign normalcy. I sent the screenshots to Alex. He immediately responded, I'm going to take them down. Not yet, I typed back. Wait until Christmas Eve. It'll be worth it. My sister, Lauren, called that week to talk about Christmas arrangements. I had been dodging her calls, aware that she would catch something in my tone. Lauren and I were quite close, more than most siblings. She had supported me through the miscarriages and was the only one who could make me laugh even during my darkest moments. "Hello, you ghost," she exclaimed when I finally picked up the call. "I was beginning to think you might not be alive." "I apologize," I replied, trying to sound cheerful. "Work has been hectic." "So how, Marcus?" "He's doing well. Actually, he's doing great." "You're an awful liar. What's happening?" I shut my eyes. I wanted to share everything with her. I wanted to cry and let it all out, but I couldn't do that, not just yet. Lauren would want to make things right, confront Marcus, and look out for me, which would ruin everything. "Nothing's wrong," I explained. "Just feeling overwhelmed with the holidays. In fact, that's what I wanted to discuss with you. Change in plans for Christmas Eve." "Oh, I'm not disappointed." "So we're not coming." "No, you are coming. But Marcus has invited an old friend from college who would be alone, so the group will be larger than expected." "That's fine. The more people, the better." "Who's the friend?" "Her name is Victoria. Interestingly, she was his ex-girlfriend." Silence followed. "Excuse me, what? He invited his ex to our family Christmas Eve gathering." "It's not what you think," I quickly clarified. "They are just friends now. She's dealing with a rough situation. And we are just being kind." "Uh-huh, and you're okay with that?" "Absolutely. Why wouldn't I be?" "Because you're a person with typical feelings." Lauren's tone was piercing. "Alara, this is odd. You realize that, right?" "It's okay, Lauren, I assure you. If you say so, but if she crosses any lines, I will speak up, just a heads up." I grinned, a genuine grin this time. "Understood. I'll see you on Christmas Eve. We'll be there, and I'll keep a close watch on Victoria." After ending the call, I remained seated, holding my phone. Lauren's fierce, protective anger for me had shattered some of the ice around my heart. For a brief moment, I permitted myself to feel the hurt, the treachery, the immense loss of the man I had adored. Then I pushed it away. There would be time to grieve later. At this moment, I needed to focus on my tasks. I opened my planning document. Everything was aligning perfectly. Alex was scheduled to arrive we planned for him to come a half hour after dinner commenced. I had provided him with a code for the side entrance. Our house had a smart lock system that allowed for temporary access codes. He would enter on his own, following the sounds coming from the dining room. The expressions on their faces would be unforgettable. But that reveal was just the start. I had more surprises in store, much more. I had reached out to an attorney renowned as the top divorce lawyer in Atlanta. Her name was Vivian Porter. She had achieved a remarkable success rate in obtaining what her clients rightly deserved. Our meeting was quite enlightening. She clarified that in Georgia, infidelity is not a significant factor in divorce law as it may be in other jurisdictions. Georgia operates under a no-fault system. Nevertheless, cheating could impact alimony payments. If it's proven that he spent shared assets on the affair, using the hotel and jewelry receipts as evidence, we can present a strong argument for you to secure a greater portion of the joint assets. "I am not seeking alimony," I informed her. "I earn my own living. My main goal is to keep the house and ensure he faces consequences for his actions." Vivian smiled in response. Her expression reminded me of my own smile lately, sharp and uncompromising. "I believe we can arrange that, particularly if we can illustrate emotional distress, such as the affair occurring during your miscarriage, for instance." A judge would consider that especially outrageous. After our meeting, I left her office having paid her fee and with the divorce documents prepared for filing. I was simply waiting for one thing, the dinner on Christmas Eve. I didn't merely aim for a divorce. I wanted witnesses present. I wanted everyone to be aware of what Marcus and Victoria had done. I wished their disgrace to be known and enduring. Vivian warned me. "Are you certain about pursuing this path? It may inflict pain on you as well. It could even be embarrassing. You could choose to file quietly and move forward, but I wasn't interested in a quiet exit. I wanted them to experience the same kind of suffering I had endured. I wanted them to lose things as I had lost so much. Marcus took away my trust, my sense of security, and my dreams of having a family. He made me question myself, made me feel insane for being sensitive after the miscarriages, all while he was betraying me in the most painful way. Victoria had built her profession on aiding individuals in mending their relationships. She marketed herself as a specialist in ethics and trust, all the while ruining another person's marriage by engaging with another's spouse. They both deserved to face serious repercussions. On December 23rd, just 2 days before Christmas Eve, I visited the grocery store and gathered all I needed for the meal. The cashier commented on my purchases. "Planning a big Christmas celebration?" she asked cheerfully. "Oh, it's going to be something unforgettable." That night, Marcus came home late. He kissed me on the forehead and mentioned he had been at a colleague's farewell gathering. The lie flowed easily from him now. Later, I checked his phone. He had indeed been at Victoria's apartment. They had sex, ordered Thai food, and exchanged early Christmas presents. He gifted her a trip to the Bahamas for New Year, and she had given him an expensive, engraved watch. To my forever and always. The twist was that I had purchased the same watch for him for Christmas, a Rolex I had saved for more than a year. It sat wrapped beneath our tree. At that moment, I pulled my gift from under the tree. Later that evening, I carefully opened it and swapped the watch with something different, the divorce papers. I wrapped it again in lovely paper accented with silver bows. I returned it to its place under the tree and went asleep. On Christmas Eve morning, Lauren, James, and the children showed up. My 7-year-old niece Emma dashed into my embrace, while my 5-year-old nephew Luke proudly displayed his new toy truck. I hugged them closely, inhaling the scents of childhood, sugar, shampoo, and pure innocence. "Aunt Alara, are you crying?" Emma asked, gently touching my cheek. "Tears of joy," I replied. "I'm just so delighted to see you." Lauren observed me with concern as she looked over the kids' heads. She understood me quite well, yet she didn't pry. She simply assisted with the kids' bags and got them settled into the guest room. That afternoon, we enjoyed a quiet dinner together, just the family. Marcus was kind and attentive, the ideal host. He joked with James about football, played with trucks alongside Luke, and praised Lauren's new hairstyle. He excelled at this, at pretending. At being exactly what everyone needed him to be. This made me question whether I had ever truly understood him. After the children were tucked in for the night, the adults gathered in the living room with glasses of wine. The Christmas tree lights sparkled, casting a gentle glow over everything. Bing Crosby's music played softly in the background. It felt like a scene straight out of a holiday film. "So," Lauren started, swirling her wine, "tell us about this Victoria who's coming tomorrow." Marcus glanced at me. I smiled, giving him the go-ahead. "She's an old friend from college," he said. "We dated for a bit, but it was a long time ago, ancient history. She's going through a tough time now with family troubles. I thought it would be nice to have her included." "That's really kind," James remarked. "That's us," I said, lifting my glass. "Generous to a fault." Marcus tapped his glass against mine, unaware of the sharpness in my tone. However, Lauren noticed it. Her eyes narrowed slightly. "And you're okay with this?" she asked me directly. "Your husband's ex at Christmas Eve dinner. Why wouldn't I be?" I replied. "I'm confident in my marriage, right, honey?" "Absolutely," Marcus affirmed, wrapping his arm around me. I leaned into him, playing my role, but I was mentally counting the hours, less than hours until my biggest performance. "Well, I'm looking forward to meeting her." Lauren spoke, and there was an edge to her tone, maybe a hint of caution or a vow. "This will be interesting," I murmured. "It certainly will." That night, I lay in bed next to Marcus, listening to his steady breaths. He quickly slipped into slumber, as he always did, free from any guilt or troubling thoughts. Meanwhile, I was wide awake, staring at the ceiling. I reminisced about the Christmas Eves we had shared, starting with the first one in our little apartment. We were so broke we could hardly afford presents, but our love made it not matter. After our initial miscarriage, we spent the next one morning together, vowing to try for a baby again. Last Christmas had brought new hope, chatting about how this year we might have a little one to celebrate with. It had all turned out to be false, or at least morphed into a fiction. Perhaps there was a time when he genuinely loved me, but somewhere along the line I became insufficient. No, that's not accurate. It wasn't me lacking, it was him being damaged. He was self-centered. Tomorrow, everyone would see the truth. Tomorrow, the facade would fade away. I rolled over and eventually fell asleep. My dreams were filled with shards of glass and red wine spreading like blood. I woke up at 6 a.m., a rush of adrenaline filling me. Today was the day. I took a shower and dressed intentionally, choosing a bright red dress, festive, suitable, yet daring. It felt like war paint for the struggle I was about to face. I carefully applied my makeup. If I was going to dismantle my life, I would do it looking good. In the kitchen, I began my cooking. The lamb was in the oven, the potatoes were peeled and boiling, and the green bean casserole was prepared. The honey-glazed ham was ready too. I moved through the tasks almost automatically as my mind raced ahead to the night. Around 8, Lauren came downstairs, attracted by the aroma of coffee and cinnamon rolls. "You're up early," she commented while filling her cup. I couldn't sleep, too excited, I replied, not entirely untruthful. She scrutinized me over the top of her mug. "You would tell me if something was wrong, right?" I locked eyes with her and nodded, of course. "You appear different. I can't quite articulate it, but it seems like you are." She paused, looking for the right term. "What do you mean? It seems like you're anticipating something." Observant and clever Lauren, always noticing too much. "I'm just exhausted," I replied. "The holidays can be overwhelming." She didn't seem convinced, but at that moment the kids rushed down the stairs, bursting with excitement from Christmas morning. And just like that, the moment was gone. We began unwrapping presents. Emma received the doll she had wanted, while Luke got a train set. Lauren and James exchanged gifts, sharing smiles filled with the warmth of a strong marriage, the kind I believed I had. Marcus gifted me jewelry, stunning and pricey earrings. I wondered if he had chosen them himself or if Victoria had assisted him. I expressed my gratitude, kissed his cheek, and handed him his gift. "Open it later," I suggested, "when you can really enjoy it." "Why not open it now?" he inquired, shaking the box. "It's personal," I explained, "just for us." He smiled, happy, thinking it was something special. He set it aside. The morning flew by amidst discarded wrapping paper and laughter. I took many photos. Emma and Luke were enjoying their new toys, the family gathered around the tree, Marcus glowing with happiness and oblivious. All of it was proof of the time before. Last moments prior to everything shifting. Lunch was laid back, just sandwiches and leftover pie. Then Lauren assisted me in the kitchen while James took the children to the park to expend some energy before the big meal. "What time is Victoria arriving?" Lauren asked as she chopped celery for the stuffing. 8 o'clock, dinner starts at 9, and it will just be us, Marcus and her." "That's the plan," I replied. It was a falsehood, but one I needed. Lauren paused, then remarked, "I don't like this." I know I've mentioned it before, but I truly don't. What kind of woman accepts an invitation to spend Christmas Eve with her former boyfriend and his spouse? The kind who has nowhere else to go, I suggested. Or the kind who longs for something unattainable, Lauren shot back. She waved the knife at me. "I'm keeping an eye on her. If she looks at Marcus with a hint of interest even once, I'll confront her. I'm serious, Elara. You can be too nice, too trusting sometimes. If only she understood. If only she recognized that I was no longer kind or trusting, but something entirely different, something cold and calculated and fierce." "Let me manage this," I said. "Just trust me, please," she sighed. "Fine, but I reserve the right to say, 'I told you so,' if things go wrong." "Understood," I responded, directing my attention to the lamb. The afternoon dragged on painfully slowly. I arranged the table with our finest china, the set my grandmother gifted us at our wedding. The plates were white with a gold edge, the crystal glasses sparkled, and the silver cutlery gleamed from the polishing I had done. I placed 8 settings, which caught Marcus's attention. "8?" he asked. "There are only 6 of us, right? You, me, Lauren, James." I replied, "Oh, and 7 with Victoria. And the 8th, I added. I always prepare an extra setting, an old custom. Just in case someone unexpected shows up." He shrugged and returned to watching football. At 7:00 p.m., I looked at my phone. There was a message from Alex. "On my way, parking down the street, waiting for your sign." I responded, 7:00 p.m., not a minute earlier, and Alex appreciate it. He replied, "Don't thank me yet. Thank me after I make them pay." At exactly 8 o'clock, the doorbell rang. Marcus sprang to his feet, and I noticed the excitement on his face, though he quickly composed himself. "Must be Victoria," he said nonchalantly. "I'll get it." I made my way to the door slowly, enjoying the moment. It felt significant, like the start of something big. When I opened the door, Victoria Hawthorne stood on my porch, and she was breathtaking. I had seen her pictures, but seeing her in person was something else, tall and slim with dark hair in perfect waves. She wore a cream sweater and dark jeans that looked both casual and upscale. In her hands, she held a bottle of wine and a bouquet. "Hello," she greeted, offering a warm, practiced smile. "You must be Marcus's wife. I'm Victoria. Thank you for having me." I noticed everything about her. Her bright eyes, the slight tightness in her shoulders, and the expensive engagement ring on her left hand, which she still wore, maybe a show of power or a test. "Come in," I said, moving aside. "We're so happy you could join us." As she entered, she brought in a rush of cold air and the scent of high-end perfume. Marcus appeared in the hallway, and I watched their brief exchange. It was just a second, but I caught the desire, the familiarity, the unspoken bond. My smile stayed steady. "Victoria," Marcus said, stepping forward to embrace her. The hug was quick and appropriate, yet I noticed his hand linger on her back a moment too long. "I'm so glad you could come," he said. "Thanks again for the invite," she replied, then turned to me. "Your home is beautiful." "Thank you," I responded. "Let me take your coat. Marcus, pour Victoria some wine." I placed her coat in the closet, made of fine cashmere, I observed, and took her to the living room where Lauren and James were managing the kids. "Victoria, let me introduce you to my sister Lauren, her spouse James, and their kids Emma and Luke." Lauren got up and I saw her examine Victoria carefully. They exchanged handshakes. "It's a pleasure to meet you," Lauren said, her voice friendly yet distant. "Likewise," Victoria replied. "Your kids are so cute." The casual conversation flowed easily. Victoria excelled at it. She was charming and attentive, asking all the right questions. She praised the interior design. She admired the tree. She interacted briefly with the kids, who instantly adored her. Marcus observed her with an unmistakable fondness. It was nauseating. At 9 o'clock, I announced that dinner was served. Everyone shifted into the dining room. I had dedicated hours to making everything just right. With candles and silver candelabras, a centerpiece of greenery, and food arranged like a feast, everything looked stunning. "This is amazing," Victoria said as she sat down. Marcus had cleverly positioned himself next to her, directly across from me. Lauren sat on my right, her gaze still sharp and watchful. We served the dishes, passed around the food, and filled the wine glasses. Everything felt sophisticated and ordinary at the same time. Marcus lifted his glass. "I would like to propose a toast to family, to friends, to the spirit of Christmas, and to my wonderful wife who organized all of this." "To your wife," Victoria echoed, locking eyes with me. There was a challenge there. She was relishing this moment, enjoying being at my table, enjoying my food, all while having an affair with my husband. I returned her smile. "To new beginnings," I said. We toasted. We dined. The meal was delightful. The lamb was tender. The side dishes were tasty, all harmonized perfectly. "So, Victoria," Lauren said in a casual tone, "Marcus mentioned you work as a therapist." "I do," Victoria replied. "I focus on family and couples counseling." "How ironic," Lauren murmured just loud enough for me to hear. "It's very fulfilling work," Victoria continued. "I assist people in dealing with tough relationship dynamics, communication problems, and trust issues." Infidelity, the last word lingered. Was she intentionally provoking me, or was she simply unaware of the irony? "Infidelity must be a tough topic to handle," I commented. "I mean, helping rebuild trust after a betrayal." Victoria nodded. "Trust is essential in any relationship. Once it's broken, it's challenging to fix." "Do you think it can be fixed?" I asked. She pondered for a moment. "Sometimes, if both individuals are dedicated to honesty, but often the betrayal is a sign of deeper problems. Sometimes relationships end because they weren't meant to last." "Wow," I said, "that's quite a gloomy thought." "I prefer to see it as realistic," she stated. Marcus nervously watched our exchange. He felt something off, but he couldn't quite identify what it was. 5 minutes had passed. My phone was in my pocket. I had given Alex the access code for the side entrance. I specified the exact time he should show up. All I needed to do was send out the notification. "Excuse me," I said as I got to my feet. "I have to check the dessert." I headed to the kitchen, took out my phone, typed the word "now," and hit send. Then I took a deep breath, adjusted my dress, and returned to the dining area with a grin. "The dessert will be ready shortly," I announced. "But first, I have a little surprise." Marcus glanced up, intrigued. "A surprise? Yes. Do you remember mentioning that we should make this Christmas more inclusive? To add extra cheer?" "Yes," he replied slowly. "Well, I took your suggestion. I invited someone else to come join us. Someone I thought should be here." Victoria's fork halted midway to her mouth and her gaze met mine. For the first time, I detected a hint of fear in her eyes. "Who?" Marcus started to ask. At that moment, the side door opened. I heard footsteps in the hallway. Everyone looked over. Alex Ramos entered the dining area. He stood tall, with a handsome appearance typical of surgeons, looking tidy and professional. He was dressed in a dark sweater and jeans. His eyes appeared red as if he had been crying or was sleep-deprived. He gazed at Victoria. "Hello, sweetheart," he greeted her with an unsettling calmness. Surprise, Victoria's face turned pale. The color drained from her face so dramatically that I thought she might collapse. "Alex," she whispered, "what are you doing here? What am I doing here?" His laugh sounded fragile. "I was invited by the wife of your lover." Marcus leaped up so quickly that his chair fell over. "What is happening?" "Sit down, Marcus," I said gently. "We've only just begun." "Who is this?" Marcus asked, looking between Alex and me. "This," I said, "is Dr. Alex Ramos, Victoria's fiancé, or weren't you aware of her engagement?" The room fell silent. Lauren's mouth dropped open. James looked bewildered. Thankfully, the children were still in the other room, watching a film. Marcus turned sharply to Victoria. "Fiancé?" Victoria was shaking her head. No, Alex, what do you mean? Why are you here? Don't you even think about it," Alex said, his voice cutting. "Don't you dare lie to me anymore. I have seen the proof. I have read the messages. I know all about Marcus. I am fully aware." "Messages?" Marcus asked, his face changing colors from red to white and then back to red again. "Victoria, what is he talking about? Oh, you're not in the loop either." Alex shifted his attention to Marcus. "Your girlfriend here has been involved with both of us. You thought you were her only partner. I believed I was her loyal fiancé. It turns out we're both foolish." "That's not right," Victoria replied as she rose to her feet. Her tone was sharp. "Alex, I'm not sure what she informed you, but I didn't share anything with him that he couldn't check himself." I interrupted. "The pictures of you and Marcus at the Beltline Bistro and the Marriott clearly showed what happened." Marcus's gaze snapped toward me. You were aware." "Oh, sweetie," I replied. My tone was sweet as syrup. "I've been aware for several months now." The quiet that followed was overwhelming. "You knew," Marcus echoed, his voice empty. "Since October 13th, I mentioned our anniversary. Remember that night when you returned home smelling like her perfume? I discovered the messages while you were in the shower." Lauren stood up. "Excuse me? What, Marcus, you have been unfaithful to my sister." "Lauren." Marcus started to say, but she interrupted him. "With this woman," Lauren pointed at Victoria. "The one you invited to our family's Christmas Eve gathering. It's not. I can clarify." Marcus appeared overwhelmed, glancing between us. "Oh, this is going to be interesting," Alex said while folding his arms. "Marcus, please explain to everyone how you've been involved with my fiancé for half a year." "Half a year," I responded, tilting my head. "Alex, dear. It has been going on longer than that. The messages date back 6 months, but they've been reconnecting for at least a year." Marcus looked like he might be sick. "And Victoria," I added, turning toward her, "I must say I admire your ability. Managing 2 men requires talent. Alex here earns what, 4 times what Marcus makes? Yet Marcus provides you with that emotional connection and shared history. Why pick one when you can enjoy both?" "You're insane," Victoria said, though her voice wavered. "I am. Let's see." I took out my phone. "I've recorded everything, texts, images, and hotel invoices. Marcus charged them to our joint credit card, which was reckless, but I suppose he thought I wouldn't realize." I began to read from my phone. "She doesn't understand you the way I do. You're the one I desire. It's always been you. I can hardly wait until we can be together openly." "Stop," Marcus urged. "Oh, we've merely reached the exciting part," I said. "June 12th. Do you remember that date, Marcus?" His expression indicated that he did. "For those who are unaware," I continued, speaking to everyone, "June 12th was when I had my second miscarriage. I was in the hospital, bleeding and scared I was going to die, and Marcus left. He claimed he had a work crisis. I brought up the photo on my phone and displayed it. This is Marcus and Victoria arriving at the Marriott at p.m. while I was experiencing the loss of our baby." Lauren gasped. James cursed. Even Alex seemed shocked. Marcus's expression crumbled. "That wasn't how it was. I felt devastated. I needed you to be with your ex-girlfriend while your wife was in the hospital. I said it. Speak the truth for once in your pathetic existence." "Oh my God," Lauren exclaimed. She approached me, placing her hand on my shoulder. Marcus directed his gaze at me. He genuinely looked at me, and I could see the moment he grasped that he no longer knew me. "Why?" he inquired. "Why didn't you speak up? Why endure all of this?" "Because," I replied, my tone icy, "you needed to experience what it is like to be taken by surprise, to have your perception of reality shattered in front of onlookers. To have everyone important to you witness who you truly are." I went over to the Christmas tree, grabbed his present, returned, and handed it to him. "Open it," I instructed. No, seriously, open it. With shaky hands, he started to unwrap the package. The divorce papers fell out onto the table, mixing with the dinner plates. "Merry Christmas," I stated. "You've been served." Victoria started to move towards the exit. However, Alex obstructed her way. "Where do you think you're headed?" he questioned. "This is ridiculous," she exclaimed. "You're all insane." "I'm leaving now." "Not yet," I replied. "We still have more to discuss. You see, there's one last thing." I took out another envelope. This one was addressed to the Georgia Board of Examiners of Psychologists. "This," I said, "is a formal grievance against Victoria Hawthorne, a licensed professional counselor, for breaching ethical standards, specifically for engaging in actions that tarnish the profession. I've documented your affair with Marcus, providing dates, times, and locations. I've also included accounts of how you used your professional expertise to manipulate him, advising him to hide the relationship from his vulnerable wife." Victoria's complexion turned pale. "You can't do this. They'll take away my license, or at least suspend it." I replied, "You should start looking for a new job, Victoria. Perhaps something that doesn't need ethical standards." "You," Victoria snarled. "Be careful," Lauren warned, stepping closer. "That's my sister you're speaking about. The sister whose spouse you were involved with. The sister whose hospitalization you exploited for a quick fling." Alex chuckled, a harsh and bitter sound. "And I was about to marry you." "Goodness, what a fool I am." "Alex, please," Victoria appealed to him. "Tears are beginning to gather. I care for you. He doesn't matter to me at all. That was an error." Alex raised his hand. "Just pause. I have listened to enough falsehoods." He took the engagement ring out of his pocket. He must have gotten it from her attic and placed it on the table. "It hit the surface once and fell into the gravy boat. We are finished. And before you attempt to fix anything, you should be aware that I've already informed your mother. I shared everything with her. She is quite let down." Victoria made a strangled noise. "What's it like?" I inquired. "To have your existence shattered in front of an audience? To have strangers who you can't influence know all your private matters?" She remained silent. She simply snatched her handbag and dashed toward the exit. We heard the door slam, an engine rev up, tires screeching as she sped off. Alex lingered for a moment, appearing bewildered. "I'm sorry," he told me. "I'm sorry you experienced this." "Thanks for coming," I replied. "I understand it wasn't straightforward." "They deserved it," he remarked. Both of them had it coming. He glanced at Marcus, who still stood there with the divorce documents. "You are a coward and a fool. I hope you comprehend what you've lost." Then Alex departed as well, exiting with greater poise than when he had arrived. That left Marcus, me, Lauren, and James witnesses to the devastation. "Get out," I instructed Marcus, my voice quiet. "This is my home," he replied, yet there was no fight in his tone. "This is my home," I corrected him. "Look at the deed. My grandmother gave me the down payment. The house is registered in my name. And based on the divorce documents you're holding, I retain it, along with half of everything else, including what you spent on Victoria. You can't. I have a very competent lawyer who assures me I can. And I possess evidence you used joint funds for your affair, which gives me leverage. You have two choices. Sign the documents and accept my conditions, or contest me in court and make all of this a public matter. It's your decision." Marcus surveyed the dining area. The lovely table I had prepared, the food that had gone cold, the wine glasses, some empty and others filled, the gravy boat that sparkled with a diamond ring inside it. "I never intended to hurt you," he said. "But you did," I replied. "You shattered me, and you didn't even have the decency to be honest. You turned me into the fool, the naive spouse who was unaware her husband was unfaithful. You made me weep alone for our children while you were with her." My voice faltered at the end. The ice that had trapped me was beginning to crack. "I'm sorry," he murmured. "Sorry isn't sufficient," I responded. "Now leave my home." He seemed like he wanted to say something more. But Lauren stepped in. "You heard her. Leave." James rose as well, quiet yet formidable. Marcus was outnumbered, and he understood it. He collected the divorce papers, moved into the hallway, and picked up his coat. At the entrance, he turned back one last time. "I love you," he said. "I don't believe you," I answered. "I don't think you understand what love means." The door shut behind him. The noise resonated throughout the home, and eventually I reached my breaking point. I sank into a chair, shielding my face with my hands as tears streamed down. All the anguish I had bottled up for months came rushing out. Lauren was right there, wrapping her arms around me to keep me from falling apart. "I've got you," she murmured. "I've got you, little sister." You're safe now. James had gone away, and I could hear him engaging with the children to keep them busy. Sweet James, always in tune with what was needed. I wept until I felt completely drained, my throat sore, my eyes puffy, and my chest throbbing from the intensity of my emotions. At last, I lifted my gaze. I'm all right, I stated. You aren't, Lauren replied gently, but you will be. I scanned the dining area, taking in the lovely table I had arranged, the food that had turned cold. The wine glasses and the gravy boat, which held a sparkling diamond ring. What a disaster. Yes, Lauren affirmed, but you accomplished it. You stood up for yourself. You forced them to confront the truth. Was it worth it? I questioned. Or did I just ruin everything out of bitterness? Lauren paused for a moment. Then she replied, what did they leave you with? A spouse who didn't care about you. A marriage built on lies. A future marked by betrayal. You didn't ruin anything of value. You only cleared the way for something greater. I wanted to have faith in her words. I wished to believe that this pain served a purpose, that the remnants of my previous life would foster something fresh. Yet in that moment, surrounded by the remnants of Christmas Eve dinner, I felt completely hollow. June 3rd marked the date of my second miscarriage. The day that symbolized Marcus' greatest betrayal, but this year it felt different. I stood before the bathroom mirror in my updated master suite, now truly mine, struggling to recognize the woman looking back at me. I appeared thinner, somehow more defined. Her eyes carried a newness they hadn't held before, not precisely coldness, but a kind of insight. The insight that arises from witnessing your dreams go up in flames. It had been 6 months since that Christmas Eve dinner. 6 months since I shattered my life and watched the aftermath unfold. The consequences had been harsh. Marcus had signed the divorce documents within a week. He didn't really have a choice. Vivian Porter had been tenacious. She tracked every hotel bill, every meal, every piece of jewelry that he had purchased for Victoria using our money. Ultimately, Marcus left with nothing but his vehicle, his clothes. And regarding percent of our possessions, I retained the home, the savings, and my self-respect. He made a few attempts to say sorry during those initial weeks. Lengthy emails I discarded without even looking, voicemails I deleted. He came to the house once, and I contacted law enforcement. Following that incident, all dialogue was managed by the lawyers. I learned from shared acquaintances that he attempted to get back together with Victoria after everything fell apart. It seems that he arrived at her apartment with flowers and a sincere apology, expressing how they could finally be together now that everything had been revealed. She had shut the door on him harshly. Victoria was dealing with her own issues, as the ethics complaint I had submitted led to an inquiry by the Georgia Board of Examiners of Psychologists. They discovered that she was holding therapy sessions while being involved in an affair with a married individual. This was a clear breach of the ethical guidelines she was committed to follow. Her license was revoked for 2 years, and she was mandated to participate in her own therapy and ethics training before she could reapply. Her practice suffered greatly. The Family Wellness Center had quickly ended her contract, unable to manage the scandal. Her professional standing, which had taken years to build, collapsed within weeks. She had left Atlanta. I heard she returned to Tampa, feeling defeated. She went back to live with her mother, who had been extremely let down to find out her daughter was untrustworthy and hurt others' relationships. Alex had contacted me once. About a month after Christmas, we met for coffee, 2 hurt individuals sharing their experiences. I still want to dislike you, he stirred his espresso, for bringing me into that mess, but I can't. You kept me from making the worst choice of my life. How have you been? I asked him in return. He shrugged. Some days are better than others. I loved her, or I loved the idea of who I thought she was. It turns out she wasn't real. I completely understood that feeling. What about you? He questioned. Any regrets? I considered it thoroughly. I really did. No, I finally replied. I regret the marriage. I regret wasting 7 years on someone who wasn't worthy of me. But the dinner and the revelations were necessary. They had to face the consequences of their actions. People like that only change when someone makes them. Alex nodded. For what it's worth, I think you're very brave. Brave or foolish, maybe a bit of both. The best people often are. We parted ways as friends, or at least as allies, connected by the mutual experience of betrayal from the same 2 individuals. Now, 6 months later, I was still trying to piece my life back together. However, I was also creating something new. The house felt different now. I had redecorated, slowly removing all traces of Marcus's presence from each room. The bedroom we once shared had transformed into a peaceful retreat filled with soft grays and blues, adorned with new furniture and bedding that he had never touched. His office had become my art studio. I began painting again, a passion I had set aside years ago because Marcus always needed the space for his gaming setup. I had stopped accepting freelance graphic design projects, and I had launched my own design firm, which was small, just me and 2 workers for the time being, but it belonged to me, established on my conditions, and it was flourishing. Therapy had been crucial. I began seeing Dr. Elena Rodriguez, and I couldn't help but notice the irony of visiting a therapist for couples after everything that had happened. Just 2 weeks post-Christmas, she had assisted me in sorting through my tangled emotions, the trauma from the betrayal, and the complex grief of losing not only a husband but also the future I had envisioned. "You are grieving a loss," she told me during one of our early meetings. "It was the loss of your marriage, indeed, but also the loss of your trust, your innocence, and the confidence in the narrative you had crafted about your life." She was correct. I had been in mourning, but gradually and painfully, I was also on the path to healing. Lauren had been my support throughout this time. She remained with me for a week after Christmas, aiding me in sorting through Marcus's belongings, comforting me when I cried. She encouraged me to eat even when the food felt like cardboard. For months, she called daily just to check on me, ensuring that I was all right. "I am so proud of you," she said to me last week. "What you accomplished took courage. Many women would have just accepted it, acted like everything was fine, and allowed themselves to suffer in silence. Not you, you stood up for yourself. I had stood up for myself and I had succeeded. Yet the triumph sometimes felt empty, particularly on the tough days because the reality was I had not wished to be a fighter. I had desired to be a wife, a mother, a woman with a straightforward, joyful life. But that life had been a deception. And this life, chaotic, painful, and authentic, was truly mine. My phone vibrated. A message from an unfamiliar number. My stomach tightened. Occasionally, Marcus would attempt to reach me from different numbers. But when I checked it, it wasn't him. "Hello, I know this is strange." However, I wanted to express my gratitude. "I'm Jennifer. I was in a relationship with Marcus." The past tense is significant. He never disclosed that he had recently gone through a divorce until I discovered your number in his blocked contacts and did some investigating. When I confronted him about it, he attempted to deceive me, but I located the divorce documents. I felt it necessary to inform you that I avoided many problems because of your records. Thank you for having the courage to keep track of everything. I stared at the message for a considerable time. Eventually, I responded. "I regret that you had to endure him, but I'm relieved you uncovered the truth before he caused significant harm. Wishing you all the best." Thus, Marcus was already attempting to alter the past, already seeking his next target. The notion made me feel ill, yet it also strengthened my determination. I had made the right decision, the harsh, uncomfortable public one, but it was still the right choice. Because remaining silent after the divorce would have allowed him to keep his good reputation, portraying himself as the victim of an unsuccessful marriage. And Victoria would have continued helping vulnerable individuals while being deeply dishonest. Instead, both of them faced genuine repercussions. Not perfect justice. Life seldom provides that, but a sense of accountability. I glanced at the date on my phone, June 7th. A year prior, I was in the hospital losing a child while my husband was with someone else. That day had been the worst of my life, but I made it through. I made it through everything. I got dressed, putting on my workout clothes. I began running in February, needing a way to release the anger and sadness that still emerged without warning. Now I run 5 miles each morning, pushing my body until my thoughts quiet down. As I fastened my shoes, I reflected on the woman I had been a year earlier, innocent, trusting, confident that love and loyalty were sufficient. I believed that if I was good enough, patient enough, and understanding enough, everything would turn out fine. That woman was lost, buried under the debris of that Christmas dinner. The person I am now realizes that some individuals do not deserve patience, that responding maturely to disrespect merely enables abuse, and that sometimes the only fitting reaction to betrayal is complete destruction. I stepped out into the June morning, the air filled with the scent of the roses I had cultivated in the front yard. My roses, my garden, my life. I began to run, my feet discovering their rhythm on the familiar trail through the neighborhood. As I ran, I sensed a change within me. Not exactly forgiveness, I wasn't there yet. Perhaps I never would be, but something akin to acceptance. This is my narrative now, not the fairy tale I once envisioned. However, there exists something deeper, something more authentic. It's a tale of treachery and endurance, of destruction and restoration, of retaliation and forgiveness. Unlike the narrative that Marcus and Victoria attempted to create, where I was depicted as the naive one, the hindrance, the woman too damaged to recognize the events unfolding right in front of her, this narrative belongs to me. I had seized the reins of the story. I had crafted the conclusion, or maybe not the conclusion. Maybe merely the conclusion of one segment and the start of another. My phone vibrated once again. Another message, this time from Lauren. Remember dinner at our place tonight. James is firing up the grill. The kids are missing their awesome auntie. I grinned. Awesome auntie, that sounded great to me. I answered, I won't miss it. Bring some wine, let it be the good kind. We're in celebration mode. What are we celebrating? Lauren replied. Half a year since the divorce. 6 months without putting up with nonsense. 6 months of being the strong, self-sufficient woman I always believed you could be. Tears welled in my eyes, but they were joyful tears. Tears of appreciation. I increased my pace, pushing myself further, feeling my heart race and my lungs strain, feeling vibrant in a way I hadn't felt in years. Because that's the reality of betrayal. It can break you, indeed. It can diminish you to nothing, leaving you doubting everything you previously understood about yourself and life. Yet, it can also shape you into something more powerful, something invincible. Marcus assumed I was delicate. He exploited my sorrow, my openness, my faith as tools against me. He profoundly misjudged me. As I turned the corner heading back home, I eased off to slow down. A car was parked in front of my house, a silver sedan that was unfamiliar to me. My instincts kicked in. But then the driver's side opened and a woman emerged. She appeared young, possibly with red hair and anxious eyes. She lingered by her vehicle, evidently waiting for me. Can I assist you? I inquired, cautious. Are you Alara Whitfield? She questioned. Well, it's Alara, but not Whitfield anymore, I guess. I'm Alara, I responded carefully. Who are you? My name is Anna, she answered. This situation is really uncomfortable. I know Jennifer, the lady who messaged you earlier today. She informed me about what Marcus did to you, and to both of you, really, and I. She paused, taking a breath. I work at the Beltline Bistro. I was a server there last year, and I frequently saw Marcus arriving with a woman who wasn't you. I even served them a few times. They always seemed very close. I remember feeling sad because it was clear he was being unfaithful. My heart was beating quickly again, but it wasn't from exercising. I felt lost about what to do, Anna went on. I didn't know you at all. I wasn't sure how to tell you, and to be honest, I thought it wasn't my place to say anything. But after Jennifer explained what happened and how you confronted him, she took her phone out. I saved pictures of them together. I'm not sure why I did that. Maybe I thought someone might need proof one day. I kept them safe. She showed me her phone. I glanced at the display. There they were, Marcus and Victoria, seated together in a cozy booth at the Beltline Bistro, his hand resting on hers on the table, both smiling and laughing. The date was March, more than a year and a half ago, long before I even thought the affair had started. There are others, she murmured, from various days. I can send them to you if it would help. I just thought you should be aware, in case he ever tries to claim it was just 6 months or that it wasn't serious, or whatever lies he's telling now. I gazed at this young woman, this stranger, who had kept this secret for so long and was now offering it to me like a present. Thank you, I responded, my throat feeling tight. She sent the pictures to me right there on the sidewalk. My phone vibrated continuously as the photos began to arrive. Evidence, confirmation, leverage. If Marcus ever tried to contest the divorce agreement or alter the facts. Why are you helping me? I inquired. She shrugged. Because guys like him often escape the consequences. They deceive, they betray, and they move on to another woman without facing any repercussions. But you did something. You made him accountable, and I wanted to ensure he couldn't wriggle free from it. She got back into her vehicle, but before she drove away, she rolled down the window. You've become a bit of a legend. You know what you did on Christmas? Jennifer told me everything. It's spreading around. Women are warning each other and sharing stories. You may have spared many individuals a lot of suffering. After she drove off. I stood on the sidewalk with my phone filled with evidence and my heart seemingly brimming with hope. I entered the house, took a shower, and sat in front of my laptop. I opened a fresh document and gazed at the empty screen. For several months, various people had been inquiring whether I would write about my experiences. Friends, my therapist, and even a literary agent who had somehow gotten wind of my story and believed it would be a fantastic book. I consistently replied no. It was too painful, far too personal, and too raw. But standing on the street, hearing Anna call me legendary, realizing that my story was being shared and assisting other women, perhaps it was time, I began to type. My husband mentioned that his ex would be joining us for our Christmas Eve dinner. I was to act mature about it. I nodded in agreement, but what he didn't realize was I had already invited her fiancé as well. The dinner turned into a memorable event that no one in my family would forget. This tale walks through how I uncovered my husband's disloyalty, devised my revenge, and reclaimed my life. The words flowed out of me quicker than I was able to type, covering the entire story, starting from discovering the messages on our anniversary to the confrontation on Christmas and the ongoing aftermath. I wrote for hours, only pausing when my fingers began to cramp and my eyes felt strained. When I finally looked away from the screen, the sun was lowering, casting orange and gold hues across my studio. I had written numerous pages filled with truth, hurt, fury, and ultimately, resilience. I saved the document, my beautiful retribution. My phone alarm chimed. It was time to prepare for dinner at Lauren. I closed my laptop and rose, stretching. My body was pleasantly sore, a result of having released something harmful. As I dressed, I contemplated the future. The genuine future, not the fantasy I had held onto within my marriage. I was uncertain what that future would entail. Perhaps I would finish the book. Maybe someday I would encounter someone new, someone worthy of my trust. Maybe I would choose to remain single and create an empire, becoming the quirky aunt who spoils Lauren's children. The one thing I was certain of was that my life would be genuine. I picked up my keys and the bottle of fine wine I had purchased for the evening. A true celebration and walking towards the exit. As I shut the door, I looked back at my home. My home, my safe space, my fresh start. On the porch, I stopped, inhaled deeply, and smiled. This wasn't the smile of the person I used to be, gentle, trusting, and innocent. It was the smile of the person I had transformed into clever, resilient, and unshakable. The smile of a woman who had faced betrayal, who had crumbled, who had crawled through hell and had come out stronger on the other side. I got in my car and drove to my sister's home, heading towards the laughter, the family warmth, and the genuine love that was present. The sun dipped below the horizon, while the sky in front of me grew darker and the stars began to shine. The past was behind me. The future was uncertain. And for the first time in a year, I felt no fear about it. I was prepared. The book made it to the bestseller chart 3 weeks after its release. My striking revenge, where I revealed my husband's unfaithfulness and reclaimed my life, connected with readers in ways I had never expected. Numerous women reached out to share their own tales of betrayal, expressing their gratitude for giving them the strength to fight for themselves. I did interviews, participated in podcasts, and a streaming platform purchased the rights for a limited series. And through all of this, I continued to build my life. The design business grew. I brought on 5 additional staff members. I purchased a vacation home by the ocean. I traveled to Paris, Tokyo, and Barcelona, destinations that Marcus had always said we would someday visit. I ventured there alone, and it was wonderful. When the book was released, Marcus attempted to sue me for defamation. His lawyer sent a cease and desist letter, accusing me of harming his reputation. Vivian Porter laughed when I showed her the letter. "Everything written in the book is accurate and supported by evidence," she said. "Truth serves as a complete defense. Let him sue. We'll win. He never filed the lawsuit. The letter was simply a show, a final attempt to regain control. He couldn't do it. The truth was out, and it had liberated me." As for Victoria, I learned that she had relocated to a small town in Florida and was now a receptionist at a dental office. Her therapist's license had been permanently taken away after a second ethical breach came to light. It seemed mine wasn't the first family she had helped destroy. I didn't take pleasure in her misfortune. I had my revenge. I had made my statement. After that, she was merely a warning, a reminder that actions can have repercussions. Alex reached out when the book was released. He had read it and wanted to express gratitude for changing his name and being fair in the narrative. "You could have portrayed me as a fool," he wrote, "but you treated me kindly. I am thankful for that." Over the year, we had formed a real friendship, united by our shared experiences and mutual recovery. He had started dating a new woman, a kind and genuine nurse from his hospital, completely different from Victoria. They appeared happy together. And me? I stood in my art studio, gazing at the canvas before me. I had begun painting again, truly engaging in it, rather than just playing around. This artwork was conceptual, filled with deep reds and blacks intertwined with bright white lines, depicting pain, anger, and the instinct to survive, all blending together. When my phone rang, it was Lauren. "Hi, little sister," she said upon my response. "What are your plans for Christmas this year?" Christmas. The word no longer caused me pain. It no longer reminded me of shattered wine glasses, arguments, or the end of everything. Now it simply represented family, genuine family. "Just like last year," I replied. "A small dinner, you, me, and perhaps some friends." "Perfect. The kids are already wondering if you'll bake that chocolate cake again." "Of course." We talked for a little while longer, making arrangements and sharing laughs over trivial things. A typical wonderful sister chat. After ending the call, I gazed out the window at the snow beginning to fall. In December, Atlanta transforms into a clean, white, and fresh landscape. A year ago, I had completely shattered my life during a Christmas Eve dinner. I ended my marriage, unveiled 2 deceivers, and fought my way to find the truth. Now, a year later, I stood among the remnants, viewing what I had created from the devastation. It was stunning, not in the way of innocence or ignorance, but in the way of resilience, of strength cultivated through hardship. A life reconstructed on honesty instead of deception. I took my paintbrush and added another stroke to my canvas, a streak of gold cutting through the dark, a hard-earned, genuine hope. My phone vibrated with a message from an unfamiliar number. "Thank you for your book. I saw messages on my husband's phone last night. I was going to act like I didn't notice them, but then I remembered your story. I'm confronting him tonight." I replied, "You don't need luck, you need bravery, and you already possess that. You've got this. And if you require support, don't hesitate to reach out. You are not by yourself." That's what overcoming betrayal achieves. It links you to all others who have traveled that road. It forms a community of fighters, all of us marked, yet still standing. I set my phone down and looked at my painting, my life. Marcus had attempted to shatter me. He had deceived me and turned his back on me. Turned my pain and affection into tools that were used against me. Yet I managed to endure. More than simply endure, I flourished. And that became the finest form of revenge. Not the argument on Christmas, enjoyable though it was. Not the settlement from the divorce, reasonable as it was. Not even the book, which achieved success. The greatest revenge was this: living well, finding joy, and creating something genuine and lovely. Out of the ruins of what he shattered, I became whole again, transformed from my past, marked, yet more resilient, knowledgeable, and courageous. And I accomplished this on my own. I grinned. That smile was now truly mine, something I had earned. I shifted my focus back to my canvas. There was work ahead of me, a life to embrace and a future to build. This time, I was the one telling the story, no more beautiful lies. Only the beautiful, harsh reality. And that was sufficient. It was even more than sufficient. Did you enjoy my tale? And from which city are you tuning in? Let's connect in the comments. If you found the story appealing, you can assist me by sending a super thanks so that I can continue sharing more stories like this. Thank you dearly for your lovely support. I look forward to seeing your thoughts on the story. On the screen, 2 new life stories are displayed that I highly recommend. There is so much more available on my channel. Remember to subscribe. Catch you in the next life story with love and respect.